recording? So, I woke up yesterday to some pretty sad news. The young boy, 5-year-old boy, who was killed by his neighbor. So that story hit my heart automatically, but then I actually became a little bit frustrated because of what I immediately started to see once I read about the story. This little boy is white and his murderer is black. And I immediately started to see comparisons being made between this young boy and George Floyd. People were saying, where's the outrage? Where's the national media? Where are the protests and riots? As if to say it's not real that things like Black Lives Matter and all the protests, because they're not bringing the same energy when they see this 5-year-old white boy being killed. It's frustrating because it's dishonest. As much as people might want to believe or try to believe that the protests are simply about murders, they're not. There are thousands of murders in America in any given year, and only a few of them make national news, like George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Breonna Taylor. The reason there is outrage and protest is injustice. So when this young boy was killed, and the murder is terrible and my heart goes out to his family, but almost instantly his killer was apprehended. And there is absolutely no doubt that, as my mother used to say, they're going to put him under the jail. And so there's no doubt that he's going to be under the jail, as he should be. That's where he belongs. However, when he goes up under that jail, he won't find Breonna Taylor's murderer, Tamir Rice's murderer, sitting up under there with him. And that's where the protest comes from, because George Floyd's murderer is not up under the jail. You see anger at the injustice. There is a system in place. There's a set of steps that are supposed to happen when a crime is committed. This young boy was killed, and immediately he was apprehended, and I promise you he will be brought to justice swiftly. And when that doesn't happen, that's when you see protest. And the fact that is something we have to explain is what's making me frustrated today, because it's dishonest. It's just like it was dishonest for people to say Colin Kaepernick was disrespecting the military, disrespecting the flag. No, he wasn't. You suggesting that means you have to be pretending that you don't know what he's actually protesting. My frustration is that people are making this argument, well, how come there isn't all this outrage? They're making that argument because they're saying that people don't have their hearts and minds in the right place, and that people need to stop playing the race card and really get on the same accord about things. But the fact of the matter is, anyone who's saying that, you're the one who's being dishonest. You are the one who's manipulating this situation. If George Floyd was murdered and his murderer was apprehended immediately and put up under the jail where he belongs, there would not be a protest. And if we were all outraged at the fact that George Floyd's murderer was not put up under the jail, then we would all be on the same accord. And it would happen. It would happen because of the national outrage. It would happen because everyone agrees that it's supposed to happen. The fact that certain people aren't outraged, many people, too many people aren't outraged at the right things, that's why this keeps happening. It's allowed to happen because people lose focus of what's right and what's wrong. You want to talk about right and wrong? The young boy shouldn't be murdered. It's awful that he's murdered. And the system does exactly what it's supposed to do when he is murdered. And the fact that it doesn't do what it's supposed to do when Tamir Rice is murdered is the problem. Pretending anything else is dishonest. No one's playing the race card. Race does have an impact. If it didn't have an impact, then Tamir Rice's murderer would be up under the prison. Breonna Taylor's murderer would be charged. And because these things aren't happening, then you see protests in the streets, as you should see. I have children. I cannot imagine what it would feel like to have one of them taken from me in a senseless and brutal way. But let's be honest, that person who did that will be brought to justice. And we all know it. The fact that there's no protest in the street is because there is no injustice. If we really want to hold ourselves and our country accountable, then we want to make sure that what happens in the case of this young man also happens for Tamir Rice and anyone else who is senselessly killed. Until we are able to be honest, it's not going to happen. If you're out there asking about these protests, my challenge to you is, are you willing to truly be honest? Because you're not being honest right now.